Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura Berman Fortgang. I'll be leading our session today. We're just going to wait a couple minutes for everyone to gather. You are muted, and we'll let you know how to ask questions as when we get started. Hello from Beaufort, South Carolina. Welcome. Yep, we can use the chat box, and I have Lindsay behind the scenes helping me if that gets too populated in there and I can't keep up. All right, everyone, we have 2 minutes after the top of the hour. Welcome. Thank you to the Don Ryan Center for having me and for gathering us. We're going to talk about working from home without losing your mind or hurting your family, because I couldn't use the word kill your family. That would be rude. And you're all on mute now, but there will be an opportunity for questions and answers. You can put your questions in the chat box and they will be delivered to me. I think it might be on mute the whole time, actually. Use the chat box. And also, if you have a question while I'm speaking, if it's about clarifying something, go right ahead. If it's about your scenario, your personal scenario, or something, more involved, save that for the Q&A section. And I love Q&A. The more Q&A, the more stuff I have to work with. So welcome. And let me give you an idea of who I am. First, I'll show you another picture. This is me before I gained all the weight from being in my house during the coronavirus situation. Here, I'm from New Jersey, in case you couldn't tell from my accent. And we've been inside for a month already. I think that, how many pounds is that? I don't know. I don't want to tell you. But anyway, I have been fortunate enough to be a coach for 25 years. I was one of the first coaches trained in the United States formally. One of the first people to receive the Master Coach credential. I helped found the International Coach Federation, which is the largest body that certifies coaches and coaching programs around the world. So nowadays, Columbia University, George Washington, American University, all the big NYU, any school that has a coaching program probably did so based on the competencies of the International Coach Federation. I have 5 books out there, and I've had the privilege of being asked to teach coaching to the Army Corps of Engineers and NASA. And my clients range from that to celebrities, to business owners, to homemakers by being on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I have a TEDx talk out there that has over 1 million views, if you're curious. So that's me. And why me to talk about working from home? I've been doing it for 25 years. I've been working from home for 25 years, from my apartment bedroom to buying a house to having my office move around the house based on who was living here and who wasn't. And I started working from home when I had no children. I've been through infants, toddlers, and every age. And now under my COVID household, we've got 1 college graduate, 1 college freshman who's very sad to be taking the rest of her courses online, and 1 high school senior who is doing well with taking his courses online. So I'm here to share my years of wisdom and knowledge of my own experience and that working with clients all over the world. And so I'm here to share 3 major things with you. 3 major points that I hope will help you do a better job, feel more efficient, feel more on top of it, working from home. And like I said, Q&A is my favorite part. So if you have specific questions, don't be shy. If you have a question for clarification at this point, let me know. Someone asked me if we're going to learn how to initiate a Zoom meeting. Keep that for the Q&A section. Remind me. We'll do that. All right. So here's the 3 points that I want you to think about for success working from home. The 3 musts. You must have structure. You must have boundaries, and we'll talk about what that means and what that looks like. And you've got to have social contact and fun. And I know we might have people who are living alone on this call. We might have people with no kids, who are coupled, uncoupled, lots of kids, young kids, old kids. So I'm really keeping that in mind as we go, and try to cover all those scenarios. But if I don't, like I said, Q&A, stop me. So let's talk about the first must. You have to have structure to your day. You need to have something that holds up the house of cards. And this has always been my biggest advice is to people who are not working. It's like, you know, you find yourself suddenly unemployed. I hope that's none of you. And, you know, you have no structure to hold up your day. And it's easy to fall into a depression. It's easy to sit on the couch all day and watch Netflix and drink wine, which I understand South Carolina, you're still only in like the first week to 10 days of doing this. And, you know, people sort of, you know, yay, a big break. But eventually those projects are going to be due. So how do you do that? You have to create a structure, and that means making a schedule. As obvious as that sounds, the schedule is what's going to hold up your day. So know when you're getting up, what your work hours are, because I know working from home, and many of you are entrepreneurial and you're used to working all the time. You know, if you're going to have other people in your home, especially little people under your feet, you're really going to have to decide, when am I working and when am I home schooling, or when am I mom or dad? And there's a time for school, there's a time for meals, a time for exercise. I mean, a lot of people, you know, feel so overwhelmed by this scenario. And I try to remind you that if you used to commute at all, you've now bought yourself a little more time. So there is time. Now, I realize all this sounds, you know, obvious and also a little pie in the sky. You know, how do you keep a schedule when everything's so all over the place? But the structure is important. And also this isn't on here, but you might want to think about rewards. Like, what do you know about yourself? Are you going to be looking for something to eat when you're not hungry? I'm hearing this from people all the time already with this. That's how I gained the weight during the shutdown, is that, you know, you're not hungry, but you're antsy. So you're looking for something to eat, or you want to procrastinate. So you're eating, or you're watching TV, or you're, you know, doing something that's really not getting you where you want to go. So look for rewards. How can you bundle what you need to do with what you'd like to do? And how do you reward yourself? I mean, I know when I first started my business from home in an apartment in the corner of my bedroom, I used to feel like my whole house needed to be in order, cleaned, dishes put away, you know, everything picked up before I could focus on my work. And that would usually lead to starting work somewhere in the afternoon and feeling so tired that I had no energy for work. Big procrastination. So chaos may be the rule of the day. You know, your house is going to look like a mess, whatever you have to do to discipline yourself. And, you know, sometimes your schedule is going to be dictated by work, right? So it's like, all right, we have this Zoom meeting and we have that 2 to 4 and we have this 8 a.m. in the morning. And those are the things that are going to hold up your day. But let me go right to this lower point here where I say lower expectations. You're in the early stages, and I can already tell you from 4 weeks in the beginning, at first people think it's a vacation, then they start getting, you know, really into work, and their bosses or themselves expect a lot of themselves. And even your schools are expecting a lot of your kids. Like, our kids doing 6 hours of work a day sitting in front of a computer is not the same as doing it in a classroom and changing classes and having a break and seeing your friends. So even the schools, this is my opinion, will need to lower their expectations. I bet you nobody's going to fail this year. Everyone knows that this is going to be an extraordinary odd time, and hopefully we're all going to be going back to normal next fall. But I live in the New York area, so, you know, we've been hit particularly hard. So we've lost a few people in my town already. So, you know, we really feel the stress of this. And I keep telling the homeschooling parents, like, people who really choose to homeschool, they homeschool their kids 3 hours a day or less. And then they do activities, or they do enrichment by going to a museum, or they do something else. So the fact that, you know, I give our teachers a lot of credit. I give our educators so much credit for this impossible task that they've had to take on, but it is impossible. to expect kids to fulfill the curriculum based on how it was designed for classroom and trying to do it online. So even lower your expectations a little bit of yourself, of your kids. We're all going to get through this. Nobody's going to fail this year. And, you know, back to some of my points here with change the rules. So if you're going to have a schedule, you have to have everyone on the same page. That means it's a family discussion or it's a partnership with you and your business people. Everyone has to be on the same page. And where I say lower expectations in one way, I'm going to say make higher expectations of the people in your life, in your home, in the sense that if the division of labor of a couple is such, whatever it is, it may need to be different during the times of the shutdown. You know, so this one's used to doing the meals and this one's used to doing the laundry, but maybe that needs to be everybody's job. Maybe if you don't expect a lot from your kids, maybe this is the time to say, look, this is an unusual time and we all have to pitch in a bigger way. So everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to see the schedule and know, oh, mommy's working now, daddy's working now. I know I can't guarantee that they won't disturb you, but let everyone touch the schedule. Be in it together. Of course, include fun. We'll talk some more about that a little later on, and share responsibilities. Like I said, structure is everything. And I mean, I have a friend right now who she stops at 4 o'clock. Everyone stops at 4 o'clock and they meet in the kitchen and they have a little party. But everyone knows it's going to happen. Everyone has something to look forward to. So it's not business as usual. As much as we're going to try to keep it business as usual, it's a whole new thing and it takes being creative. And you are in the early stages right now. So just lower your expectations. I'm going to talk more about that. All right. So that's the first thing I want you to understand. The second thing I want you to think about, oh, wait, my favorite slide. And you know what? Sometimes none of it's going to happen. With everything that I just said, sometimes it's just not going to happen. And that's okay. They could cut off my, please don't make me. I can't adult today. Please don't make me. All right. So any clarification questions at this point? You can put it in the chat. Anyone have a clarification question? If you have a, how do we do this? Or this is my scenario, hold that one. All right. Looks like we're ready to move on. Okay, folks. So now the second thing you'll need in place, you'll need boundaries to stay sane. Boundaries are just a fancy word for no. So no, you cannot come in here. No, you cannot do this. No, you cannot call me at 11 o'clock at night. You know, we're going to need boundaries around our time. So if you're running meetings, have an agenda. If you are expected at meetings, ask for an agenda. There's never been a more important time to not waste time. You know, when does your work day end? Again, like I said before, a lot of us are in business for ourselves or entrepreneurial, and, you know, the work can be all the time, right? But now you have people underfoot. So let's take this a couple ways. I know when my kids were little, you know, and I'm sure if some of you have little kids, you're doing this already. You know, day stops at 4:30. Dinner, bedtime, and then back to the office to do work, right? But you also have to decide, depending on what your work scenario is, what works for you. You know, people now expect everyone to be available all the time because you can't say you're anywhere, because we all know you're not. You're home. So how do you negotiate that? And negotiate it internally in your company, negotiate it in your home. What are our boundaries around time? What are the boundaries around homeschooling? You know, are your kids of an age that they can do it independently? If it takes everything from you, how are you going to manage that and how you can renegotiate it with your job? Some great questions come in. We'll get to them. All right. And I said earlier about exercising or moving your butt every day. We do have a little more time. We don't have a commute. Now, if you've already been working from home, you probably will find that some things are a little slower. So, I mean, I know in my family, there's a family walk almost every day unless it's raining. and anyone can join us or not join us. And the parks are closed where I am, but there's not too many people out, so you can social distance walking. All right, so that we need boundaries around time. We need boundaries around our space. Now, of course, it depends how much space you have, but I'm lucky enough to have room for 5 people to all disperse and not be in each other's hair. So if you're not in the same scenario, you know, if you have to use the dining room table, do you have to share it? How can it be set up? This is a time to invest in making a space for yourself, having the things that you need to work comfortably from home, because this could go on for a little while. So if you don't have an office and you have to use a public space in the house, how can you all divide up that space? Who can work in their room? Do you need to go work in your room and not have the main floor space? Boundaries around space are really important. Now, boundaries with kids is really hard. So we're going to talk about kids in a second. But anyway, yeah. So set it up to be ideal. You know, like I've worked with people over the years who are starting a business on their dining room table, and you know, you have to treat it not like a dining room table. And then you might need that dining room table later in the day for dinner. So you've got to clear everything off. But everyone make their own space and try to work, make it work for everybody. Even make the kids feel like they have a space that is set up for them. It just, you know, that fence around the chair is a joke, but at the same time, we are territorial beings, right? And we don't want anyone touching our stuff. It messes up our routine. So do have a space. You know, we can't go work at Starbucks, right? If we need a couple hours of silence. You might be able to go in your car, though. I'll say I have been guilty of taking calls in the car. So boundaries around your space. Now, boundaries with kids. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Now, I said earlier, everyone has to get on the same page here. You know, obviously, if you have infants and toddlers, there's no page. You know, they run the roost. And we can't bring in help, right? So this is where hopefully partners can switch off. How can you negotiate every day with who can take what, who can have what meeting, who can't have what meeting? And nobody's job is more important than the others. And, you know, I've had that argument in my own home sometimes. But the older kids, even elementary school kids, like they're just going to have to learn this is different. This is different than how we've done it before. This is a special time. And, you know, not a bad time to teach them business skills. For example, if they do have to interrupt you, what is a way to interrupt you that works? I know we've all seen that. I think that news clip was a few years ago where a foreign correspondent, I think, on one of the news programs, his little toddler girl came running in, and before the mom figured it out, the little baby in a rolling toy came in, and then the mother runs in and takes them both, and he's, you know, trying to pretend that he's doing his job. Now, I've been working from home for so long that it wasn't as common as it is now. You know, people get it that there's going to be interruptions, but like I said, not a bad time to teach your kids how to be little pros. When my daughter was 6, she had heard me leave enough voicemail messages, I guess, that she would call people with, unbeknownst to us, to find a friend to play with, or I don't know, she just felt like calling people back when people used the phone on the wall in the house. And she would call people and leave these incredible messages. Like she left beautiful voicemail messages and people would tell me and, you know, play them back for me. So obviously she learned that from overhearing our conversations. So, you know, not a bad time to teach them how to be polite little business people. How do you interrupt in a different way? What if mom says or dad says, I can't talk to you right now? What are we going to do? Teach them how to pass you notes. Someone did ask something about what we're talking about now, including talk about the homes with all ages, elementary, middle, and high, having the respective challenges. Yeah, as I said before, we are going to need, you know, I don't know about you, but my kids, you know, yes, everyone has chores, but no one's ever had to really be in charge of each other. And we've we changed that. I mean, like I said, I have a graduate, a college person, and a high school person right now, but my high school son has some special needs, and so the siblings have had to pitch in. So where can the siblings pitch in? Where might there be new responsibilities that they've never had before? And elementary, middle school, and high school all under the same roof. I do not envy you, but where can the kids help each other? Yes, with the rolling eyes. Yes, with the I don't want to. But everyone needs to understand these are unusual circumstances, and we're asking unusual things. And I understand, especially at the elementary level with the kids doing stuff online, they need you sometimes. They need you to be standing over them. So really, like I said, looking at that schedule every day, and how can everyone in the house do something that affects each other instead of it just being up to the parents. So thank you for that question. So boundaries are about time, space, and people, right? So we need boundaries around our time. We need our own space. And we need to have boundaries with how people behave with each other, behave with us, even your workplace. If people are time wasters in calling meetings, no, you're going to push back. You're going to ask for an agenda. You're going to ask if you're really essential to that meeting. Now, let me talk about this for a second from a work perspective. I've had people ask me, how do I engage my team? How do I stay involved with my team? How do I know that they're okay? I just said I was going to talk about that, but I lied. I'm going to talk about it in the next session, in the next section. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about different people, different ways of staying in touch, and what other people need. We'll get into that in a moment. All right. So any other questions about boundaries? I'm going to check the chat box. Yes, great tip. Ask for an agenda. Thank you. All right, I will answer these questions in the Q&A. I stopped for the one that was about the kids in the house because we were on that topic. All right, so my boundary. See this coffee cup? We actually use this in our house, not the cup, but we use the shh. We'll say to each other, I'm in the shh, I'm in the shh, I'm in the shh, don't talk to me. And that's a boundary, right? So I have a boundary. A boundary is like an imaginary fence that lets people know how to behave with you and around you. If you didn't have a fence around your swimming pool, you'd have a lot of unwanted guests. When you have a fence around your swimming pool, people have to ask permission to get in. And so if you're feeling like you have more than your share of problems, you don't have a big enough fence. And this is one of my fences. Seriously. I saw this photo and I was like, this is perfect. We did it before ever seeing this photo. But in our house, you haven't had your coffee, or you haven't had enough coffee, and someone wants to chat at you, we just say, in the shh, and they know to wait. All right. So the third thing is you'll benefit from social connection and fun. And, social connection. What are you talking about? We're all on Zoom. This is a little connection. We were talking before you guys came on that Zoom has seen like a 3,000% increase in people using their platform. Ironically, a month ago or so, I had asked one of the committees that I run in town to meet on Zoom, and they all looked at me crooked, and they just like, I don't do Zoom. I don't know how to do Zoom. And I was like, if you can look at an email and click on a button, you'll be able to be on Zoom. And they refused to do it. And now everyone's into Zoom, right? Maybe you had Easter last Sunday with Zoom, or Passover. Staying socially connected is just so important to how we are as human beings, right? And if it wasn't, none of us would care that this is going on. So again, with that extra time, who do you want to reach out to? Who do you want to catch up with? Getting creative on Zoom. We'll talk about that. Here's where I wanted to talk about the differences in people, and especially with your team. So some people right now are in introvert heaven. Like, I can't see if you're smiling or not, if there are any introverts on this call, but some people are like, oh, thank you. I don't have to see people every day. I don't have to be chatty in the hallways at work. I can just do whatever I want. There truly are some people that are valuing this like the heaven that they never get. And then there's people who, are not like that. But let me say one more thing about introverts. So people who are more introverted, that doesn't mean you're shy necessarily. It just means that you are okay being inside your own head, and extroverts think better outside of their heads. Um, I'm an introverted extrovert. That means I get my best ideas talking. I'm an extrovert, I'm gregarious, but I need recovery time. So people who are introverts they're often alone and rarely lonely. And I think this is an important distinction, because there may be people in your life who don't feel lonely even though they're alone, or they really don't mind being cooped up like this. And I say this for back to that point about who's on your team, running meetings, staying in touch with your team. It's really important to know who wants what, who is okay being left alone, who needs more support and needs to be talked to more often. Maybe some of your staff or some of your team, needs to have one-on-ones with you for 15 minutes every day. Really an important distinction to look at: who operates best with contact, who operates better without contact. And not just in the terms of being being too independent, but I mean in terms of how they function best, right? So your introverts are perfectly fine with being left alone and rather be left alone. Do they still need accountability? That's something for the two of you to work out. Your extroverts may need to talk some things through. And I put this in front of you for you too. Like, how do you express what works for you in terms of social connection and in terms of work connection? I'm the type of person, like, give me a set of instructions and I'm off. You don't need to check on me. I don't need your help. But that's not everybody. That's one thing to consider. And of course, the having fun piece. Some questions are lining up. Good. The having fun piece. I have seen people using Zoom very creatively, or even stuff going outside. For example, birthday parties. We've seen up here in the Northeast, birthday parades, people getting in their cars, decorated and beeping outside of your home and making you come out and wave. The other day we were invited to a Zoom birthday party, having the cake from afar for the young kid. The lawn was decorated. I know of a family who their kid didn't necessarily miss their prom, but they decided to have a prom in their house. So they all wore old prom gowns or whatever they had around. They took pictures in the yard. They decorated the house. They made a special dinner. And my high school seniors prom is likely canceled. So I'm going to be stealing that idea. And you've seen all these videos now of people doing different lyrics to songs, parodies about staying inside. So think of, like, what are the fun things that your family does or has, or you do? Do you own a guitar and you can sing along? We do a game night once a week, at least. And I will say, as the parent of older kids, I selfishly am loving this because they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go after dinner. So we have nice leisurely dinners. We have cooked for 30 days. I think 2 nights we ordered in. We've cooked. I know people are baking a lot. That's how we're all getting fat. People doing obstacle courses with their kids, inside or out. It's unusual times. We do unusual things. So, we are a camping family. My kids are a little too old for this, but camping in the inside the house, or we actually might do an outside the house, that they might do. So it's just a time to, take crazy ideas, throw them at the wall, see what your kids are willing to do or what you're willing to do. One tip I do have for people who are living alone: if you live alone, I am a little prejudiced. I would love that. But I've been asking my folks who live alone to take themselves on a date every night. Like, set the table for yourself. Use the fancy napkins. Pour yourself a glass of wine in a nice glass. Sit at the table. If it's movie night for you, make it special for you. So I've been hearing from single friends or single clients, or, people who just happen to live on their own, that it's just a time to go all out for you. Yeah, you're worth it. All right, so I've gone over a few of the major points that I want you to know, that you need structure, you need boundaries on all those things, and the social connection piece is important. So here's my time for questions, and I see 8 questions lined up in the chat, so I'm going to go look. Will we learn how to initiate a Zoom meeting? Okay, so I'll just give you a little primer on Zoom. I'll make it quick because some people may know how to use it, but how you got on here today was through an invitation. So for you to call a Zoom meeting, you have to join Zoom. You don't have to use the pay level. Like I use the level where I pay, so I can have as long a meeting as I want. If you just use their free level, I believe your meeting can only be 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And it's pretty intuitive to set up. You go to Zoom, you create your account, and then you're given a meeting ID, and you give that meeting ID to anyone who you want to have join you. And they go to Zoom and they put in the meeting ID, and then you're lining up just like this. And it takes a little time to, play with the controls and learn how to use it. I just taught my 84-year-old mother how to get on Zoom for that birthday party I was talking about. She doesn't have a camera in her computer because she has an old computer. So we taught her how to do it on her phone. So I hope that helps. Happy to take that question through an email and tell you more. What about dress code and expectations? I have to laugh because what we have on top and what we have on the bottom may be different. I'm dressed all the way except I'm barefoot for you today. So I think the expectation is, that you're at least business casual if you're showing up on a business thing. And, do your grooming routine. If you have one of those days where you have a meeting at 4 and you just need to sleep the whole day and you're lucky enough to be able to do that, then don't put the camera on. What can I tell you? But dress code and expectations is that you're going to show up, dressed for work, but not with a suit. I don't think anyone expects that of you. Great. Ask for an agenda. Yes, ask for an agenda. All right. All the questions are coming in. All right. How do you gauge the well-being and mental health of remote workers? And how do you help them when you can't meet in person? That is a really good question. Yeah. I mean, that is a concern with this is mental health. And especially if somebody, someone may have alcoholic tendencies and you don't see it at work because they do so in their own home, but now they're in their home all the time. So yeah. So the biggest thing here is to be the brave one, to tell the truth. Like if you're noticing someone coming to the Zoom calls disheveled and not looking well, and call them afterwards and be truthful and tell them what you see. If you have people who, if you're not meeting a lot, I would say you want to have a weekly meeting with everyone where you can see them. I'd say Zoom. One-on-ones. Mental health, signs of deteriorating mental health is not taking care of oneself in terms of appearance, crying, being completely overwhelmed, not making any deadlines. And it's okay to say, this is not behavior I'm used to from you. Are you okay? I'm concerned about you. I hope, maybe you have resources available to be able to tell them, there's this mental health hotline, or our company has resources and someone to send you to. And, that's a great question. And it's really important to be watching that. How do you avoid burning out? Those boundaries that I was talking about, that if we have to do this for a longer term, you have to know when's work, when's rest, when's play, because you can burn out. Just think of our healthcare workers right now. They're on the front line. They're seeing this every day. They're worried about getting sick. I do keep my mind on those people who are really sacrificing way more than those of us who get to stay home. And that's how I get through it. It's like how, I can't complain. But burnout is real. Whether it be because it's work and you have, all these things you have to do for home, and you're going to bed at 2 a.m. after you cleaned up the kitchen. You've got to even that out. And my guess is you need to ask for more help, whether it be delegating on your team, whether it be delegating at home. Spread out the responsibilities. Any suggestions for electronic calendar sharing? Google Calendar is a great tool for being able to share the calendar with everybody. Like if you want to put up a meeting calendar or deadlines, I have found Google Calendar to be extremely helpful. I know there are other platforms, but that's the one I'm familiar with. And what online tools do you find helpful to manage your team and workload? I don't know if any of you have heard of Slack, Slack, but Slack is it's like Basecamp. Basecamp is another one. Again, a no cost feature, I believe. And you can put your whole team on Slack, and it's better than email, because when you do email, you have to go search for your emails. But when you do Slack, you have different channels. So we can have a channel about this project. We can have a channel about our weekly meeting. We can have a channel about another project. And you can, and it can show up in your phone, and Slack is talking to you, and you go and look. So Basecamp or Slack are a great place to have a visual for everyone to be on the same page for your team. Great questions, you guys. What did I miss? Anything? So sad for graduating seniors. Oh my gosh, me too. I have one, and he has worked. My mildly special needs son has worked so hard, and he so deserves this graduation. It's so sad. I'm doing a Zoom graduation with family if we don't have a real one. All right, I'm looking at the messages. We've been playing board games online with friends, using a few websites and being on Zoom. Oh, how fun. If you know what those websites are, would you put them in the chat, and we'll make sure everyone gets them when we send our follow-up email to you? That's fabulous. Yeah, we've definitely playing more games in my house. Like I said, I have older kids, and when I suggest this on normal days, it's like, oh, Mom. And now they're like, okay, I'll play one round, and we end up playing all night. So if we look at this the right way, as stressful as this is and as scary as it is an amazing opportunity to connect with the people in your life, under your roof. And if you don't have anyone under your roof, with people, like I'm having way longer chats with people that we don't normally have, because, we're busy. We're so busy. And the other opportunity with all this is a really chance to reset. It's a chance to House Party, you guys, is a fun video app that someone's used. Oh yeah, House Party. You can get everyone together and have a house party. My husband uses that. My husband and my college age daughter are using House Party. So what was I saying? So it is an opportunity to reset some things. I mean, I am very taken with the images that we've seen of at Los Angeles, or even over China, where the pollution is almost gone, dissipated. And it's like, wow, if everybody paused, we're actually doing better for the planet. Obviously, we all have economic things we're worried about with this, but it's just an opportunity to see that, when you slow down and when you have less to juggle, you really can have a conscious picture of what needs to stay and what needs to go. So when we go back to normal, you can make different choices. And that goes for your businesses too. I mean, I'm definitely seeing myself focus on one aspect of my business. So that is going to be more likely to be helpful to move through this. And there may be a sweet spot for you. And that's another thing, please do ask me right here if any of you are in a business or in a job that you can't do because of not being able to be with people, because that's something to look at too. Like I had someone on another call who's a massage therapist, and like, I cannot do massage and I have lost all my income. So what am I going to do? And we brainstormed some ideas, like teach on Zoom for pay how her clients can learn the techniques of massage and use it on each other. Not going to be the same, but what do you really offer when you offer massage? Yes, you offer this touch, but you're offering wellness. So what else around wellness could she work with people on long distance? So, looking for different ways to, what's the word I'm looking for, to transform your business, right? Restaurants, we can't go in them. They're all doing delivery and takeout. It's not the same amount of money for them, but it's a way to stay in business. I see some fun things being put on here for games and stuff, so I'll make sure that those get to you. All right, so any other questions? This is my favorite part, when people ask questions. So we're going to send you info on house party, board game, arena, Tabletopia, tabletop simulator. Wow, cool. All right. All right. I don't know if this has anything to do with any of you, but because you're all more entrepreneurial, but if any of you were in a job search at this time, I know we're more ahead of you up here in further north in terms of how long we've been doing this, but the advice is to keep going. Don't stop just because you think nobody's at work. Keep going. Yes, they're dealing with crisis, but they will get back to you. And since I have a few more minutes here, I want to talk a little bit about the emotional aspect of this, not just the mental health aspect, but coming back to, we don't need to look at these feet. Coming back to, being in the house with a lot of people or working with people. Let's talk about emotions, right? So, we all get a break from the people we're with, even if it's just a car ride home from work, or going to work is a break from your family. And here we're all together all the time. So it's going to reveal the cracks and fissures in relationships. It's going to reveal things that, we can sort of sweep under the rug because we don't have to deal with it all the time. Now you're dealing with it all the time. Crises reveal the true essence of things. Crises reveal fissures in relationships, things that are not working in your business and the infrastructure of your business to hold it up during difficult times. We're going to see the cracks. And that's why it's such an amazing opportunity to course correct and to look at a few things. And I want to talk about emotions at home. I like to always remind my family that anger is a secondary emotion. Like, you were not angry first. Something happened first to make you angry. So a need wasn't met. Someone crossed a boundary. Something happened to make you angry. And I want to say a little more about that today, because this is part of boundary setting that we talked about. When someone activates an emotion for you, right, or you get angry, if anger is the second emotion, you have to say, okay, what just happened here, right? So usually a need is not being met. And what do I mean by a need? All of us, whether we like it or not, are made up of unmet needs. It's just things we didn't get enough of as a kid, things we haven't worked on enough in our adult life. So a need sort of has a Jekyll and Hyde behavior to it, right? So if, like, for example, I have a need for recognition. I was an actor first. Part of my business is speaking on stages, and it's not so much like the applause, but I have a need to be seen, right? And to have my work noticed. And even in my own home, like if I make dinner and my kids just like don't even notice it, I'm aggravated. A need wasn't met. I never need recognition. Like, hey mom, thanks for putting dinner together. Yes, it's my job, but every human being likes to be recognized. So if that need is met, copacetic. If that need isn't met, that's when I find that, I could get angry or my feelings could be hurt. That's a need that I need to be aware of. And how do I ask for recognition then if I know that's something I need? Like, I will, I'm not going to sit there and pout or hint. I'll be like, hey guys, I tried this new recipe. Did you like it? And if they say no, I'm not hurt by that. I just want them to recognize that the effort was made. So you got to think about, what are the needs that drive you crazy? It's not just like, it would be nice to be loved. I need attention. It's not like a like to have. It's a have to have. It's a you behave ugly and don't like yourself if you don't have it. Those are the needs I want you to watch out for, because those are the needs that are going to pop up the more time we have to rub elbows with the same people. So think about that. Think about what are the needs that you need. Do you need quiet, right? Do you need peace and order? It can be harder to come by in these times. Do you need control? Do you need to see results? Do you have a need for recognition? Do you have a need to be heard? Do you have a need to, let me think what else. You know, do you have a need to have luxury? You know, these are real things. And so I encourage you to take some time with this and look at this, because this isn't what we think about. And when people start driving you crazy because we're having a little bit too much togetherness, anytime you find yourself angry, just be like, okay, wait a minute. It's a second emotion. What need is not being met? What need is not being met? And start asking for that need to be met. It's not bad. It doesn't make you ugly. It's just you're human, and we're all human. So, you know, working from home without losing your mind or hurting your family is about self-awareness. It's about these structures that I'm asking you to build. It's about setting those boundaries around your time and your space. And it's building in time for contact and fun. And like I said, even if you live alone, treating yourself really, really well. So I want to give one more opportunity for questions. We might end a little early if we don't have any more, but I will just take a quick sip of my club soda while you ask a question if you have one. All right.
Hey, I'm trying to figure that out. Shit. Hello?
Hi, I can hear you. Go ahead, Paul. Oh, it's not Paul. Well, whoever it is, tell me your name and go ahead.
I got a question. So I do a company out of Iowa called VisiPay, and I'm an outdoor salesman. So of course we can't go door to door to businesses anymore and try to offer them that. So my boss has been stressing out, calling me, trying to motivate me, trying to teach me other ways. I tried telling him that it was going to go online. He told me, no, you need to go out and you need to talk to people. And I can't. They were telling me they don't want to talk to. They wouldn't even let me in their doorway, even if I had a mask on. And I went in very professional, and they weren't taking me seriously, and they're still not. So he told me that I need to go online and start going to small businesses online. And I'm frightened. I don't think they're going to take me seriously and just going to tick me off as a pop-up bubble. And I don't want to be like that. So any motivation I should do. Plus, also, I'd like to still be a team player at my company and show up that I'm still here. I'm not frightened. But then, thank you for all this extra motivation about what time should work be, what time should your relaxed day be. I get so nervous because I did some extra work right now outside. My neighbors said, hey, can you come rake leaves? Some people said, oh, you're not going to pay me enough. I just did it because I just took that little bit of money just to put back so I could have it.
Great.
And
well, let me address this thing about your work. You know, I mean, I don't know about your state, but it would be illegal to be going to people's doors. And so, you know, you think of yourself as this way, Paul. You know, what do you really offer if you're selling a product, and what is the need that you're fulfilling? You know, what is their hurt? What is their pain? And how do you get their attention without going door to door? So it could be leaving something on their doorstep that says, you know, I'd love to have a meeting with you on Zoom about this. Or, you know, if you do have a contact list, you know, cold calling the way you would have if you went door to door, but trying to, you know, manipulate it in a way that you are still, think about it as service, you know? So what is the need? What is the pain that they have? How do I reach them about this, even in this unusual time? And yeah, granted, you're not going to go door to door, but you could leave something at a door. So is there something your company could print up? Is there a sample you could leave? So then you're inviting people to say, hey, please contact me and we'll talk about it on Zoom or on the phone. So I hope that helps you. And you know, yes, you know, some of these impossible scenarios are very stressful, and you know, we might be looking for other ways to make money. I totally understand. And you know, if any of you are in that kind of scenario and you need to think about supplementing your income, you know, just it takes creativity, and you may need some brainstorming with a friend, but think about what you have to offer and how you can solve problems for people right now. All right, so it looks like that completes everybody's questions for me right now. I invite you to email me at that email that you see on the screen, lbf@laurabermanfortgang.com, in case I've opened up something that you want to ask me about. And there's my website. We'll be sending out a message to you on how to get some bonus items from this call. So look out in your email how to get those bonus items, and we'll definitely send you, I know Lindsay can handle this, those game apps and other platforms for meeting up with people. So, oh, I see a question came in. Hold on. Oh, it's been so helpful. Thank you. Great info. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And, you know, you'll get some follow-up from the Don Ryan Center, and that's how you can ask me another question if you have it. And I thank you. It was my pleasure to be your guest today. Everyone have a good day. Remember, this is an opportunity, and we're just going to have to be creative and do things differently, you know, break some rules in a good way. All right. Take good care, everybody. Thank you.